Well, hello and welcome to our reading of Mark's Gospel. We're in chapter 15 and up to verse 16. So, and the soldiers led up him, this is Jesus, so the soldiers led him up inside of the courtyard, ho estin praetorion. Praetorion. This is of course, the praetorian, again a Latin loan word. This was the official residence of the governor. And they called together the whole cohort. Now, Mark, of course, is prone to exaggeration, and that probably is the case here, since a cohort consisted of 600 men. Even if a smaller unit, the maniple, were intended, it would be 200 men. So this is probably just some subset of the cohort. Kai en deduscusin. Now this is a late form of enduo, to put on, and it's got that that iterative cluster in here. That you see in verbs like heurisco and so on. So whether it's got an iterative sense here is not clear. This is just a late form that does appear in the Septuagint. So they continually put on, perhaps. They continually put purpuron. This is purple because this is the raiment of kings. They continually put on a purple garment on him. Kai peritithesi, this is the present from peritithemi, and so it's a historic present, and they and plexantes from plekao, having woven. So having woven a crown, a kanthinon, a thorny crown, they placed it around him, that is around his head. And they began to greet him, "Hail, King of the Jews." We have vocative here, King of the Judeans, perhaps. And they spat upon him. They struck his head, I should say, from tupto, and they were striking his head with a reed, kalamos, and they were spitting upon him. And this is an idiom here, tithentes targoneta, having placed their knees. So going down on their knees, they were worshipping him. And when en epaixan, this is from empaisdo, it means to mock. It's the same word that's used in the Septuagint. In fact, when they mock Samson after he's been blinded, they bring him back in and they make fun of him. It's the same word used there. Empaisdo, it's to mock, to make fun of. So when they had mocked him, this is from exduo, they took off him the purple garment, literally just the purple here, and they put on him his own garments, and they let him out in order that they might crucify him. In the next section, we have this verb angeruo, which means to press into service. It's only here, but it is based on the classical Greek word angaros, which means a mounted courier. So a courier who rides from one place to another. It's of Persian origin. Here it has the meaning of just press into service. So they pressed into service. A certain Simon of Cyrene, passing by, paragonta, this is accusative participle agreeing with Simon, as he was erchomenon, coming from the field. And he was the father of Alexander and Rufus. They pressed hard upon him that he might lift up his cross, carry his cross from Iro. And they, from Pharaoh, they carried him, so they brought him to the place Golgotha. and as usual Mark translates this, which is being interpreted. This is a present passive participle from meth herm menuo, the place of a skull. Kai edidun, and they were giving to him, perhaps it's the imperfect of didomi, so perhaps they tried to give to him wine that was esmornismenon. This is drugged with myrrh. You'll see the myrrh root in there. The purpose of this was to deaden the pain, but he did not take it. And they crucified him, and they divided his garments, having cast a lot. Ep auta tisti are. This appears to be some sort of blending of two sentences here as to who will take it and what will they take. So they cast a lot for it as to who might take what. So probably is the easiest way of translating it, as to who might take it or who might take what. And it was the 3rd hour, and they crucified him. And there was the epigraphe, the inscription, epigrammenein, inscribed of his aitia. Well, this is an old meaning. It's a crime here. This is an older meaning of the word, an aitia was a technical word for crime in earlier Greek. So the inscription was inscribed of his crime, Hobazilius ton Iudaean, the king of the Judeans. And they sacrificed with him 2 lestes, 2 robbers. This is a general word for a robber or thief. One on the right and one on his left. And those coming past blasphemed him, so abused him, perhaps here. Kinuntes, literally moving their heads. So often we say wagging their heads, but Mark uses just a general vague term, moving their heads, wagging their heads, and saying, Ua, this is woe, the one loosing, the one destroying, pulling down the temple and building it in 3 days. So save Seauton yourself, having come down from the cross. Likewise also the chief priests empais dontes, we've seen that was the verb we had shortly before, so mocking him to one another, along with the scribes, were saying, Esosen, aorist from sozo, he saved others, he is not able, sosai infinitive from sozo, to save hiauton himself. The Messiah, the King of Israel, metabato is an infinitive here, an imperative here, 3rd person singular imperative. Let him come now from the cross, in order that we might see and we might believe. Subjunctives here. And those being crucified son with him. This is the perfect passive participle, and because this begins with a double consonant, you don't get a reduplication, you just get an augmentation for the perfect here. So those having been crucified with him, so it's those co-crucified with him, to be very literal, ones disdon auton, they reviled him. They reviled him. And it being the 8th hour, darkness came upon the whole land until the 9th hour. And on the 9th hour, Jesus eboesen, from K-R-O, cried out with a great voice, Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani. So Eloi, Eloi, and again Mark will translate that for us. Hot estin methemenu omenon, that's the present participle again, which is being translated or interpreted. My God, ace tit, for what reason have you deserted me? We get this ace tit, this is a quotation of course from the Septuagint, and where you would normally expect dia tit for according to what thing, so for why, but in the Septuagint, and we also see it in Mark occasionally, he uses ace tit rather than dia tit, for what reason, and this is from eng, kata and lapo connected together. For what reason have you deserted me? And certain of those standing beside, hearing this, they said, Behold, phone, he calls on Elijah. And someone, dramon, that's the aorist participle from trecho, to run, someone having run, and in square brackets, and gemissas, from gemisdo, to fill, aorist participle, having filled a sponge with oxus, this is a genitive, it's oxos, third declension, neuter, so with wine, perithes, having placed it around calamo, it's taking a dative here, well, it's a stick, epotisden, he gave it a drink to him. Potistos, to give someone a drink, gave him a drink, saying, now the affety here is something like, let him be, let us see if Elijah comes to take him down. This is from Cathyrio, if someone comes to take him down. And I'll finish that section there and save the rest to the next video.